we're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. Today we are focused on Star Trek Picard, season 2, episode 8, monsters. What monsters will we uncover in our discussion? Who knows? Stay tuned and we'll let you know. I'm so happy to be joined by a brand new addition to our discussions, and that's Miss Amy Nelson. Amy, how are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me on. I'm very honored and happy to be here.
I'm so honored that you are happy to be here because we're happy to have you. We're joined by our Dadmiral, who's hopped onto our future Star Trek discussions from our TOS discussions, which we appreciate. And we have Marcelo here also to give us his perspective on this episode. He's having a little bit of a beer, so he's going to be a little bit fun more. No, you're always fun, but a little more fun than usual, perhaps.
Yeah.
So those of you in the audience who care to crack open a beer on this Sunday, feel free to do so.
Or
you
some
can
coffee.
Join. Or coffee, yeah. I think I'm having water. I have to drive after this, so I got to keep to the non-alcoholic and non-stimulant beverages. But I did have 2 cups of coffee this morning, so I am actually quite stimulated. And I see we got
for the eagle-eyed people, there is the same poster in two. Amy and I have got the same poster.
Oh,
Go
yeah,
the other way,
you
Amy.
do. Yeah,
Other
there
way.
it is. Oh,
There we
let's
go.
see.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah, there it
I'm
is.
gonna give you full screen for a second here, Amy. Don't get shocked. All right, here we go.
Okay.
Let's see that.
Oh, wait, which way am I
Right,
going?
wrong
There
way,
you
that
go.
way.
That way. That way.
That's
That way.
awesome.
Well, these you would recognize from Mission Chicago.
Oh,
Those are
that's
my
right.
new
I haven't
additions.
unpacked my posters yet.
But I like the one in the center, the one with the Voyager crew. That looks awesome. But,
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah, that one's really cool too. Amy, as is tradition on Starfleet Boy, we like to allow our newest guests to tell the audience a little bit about themselves. We always promote your content, so anything I know you do podcasts, you're going to want to share that stuff. But we'd also love to hear some of your Star Trek story, if that's okay.
Well, sure. Thank you. So I was first introduced to Star Trek by my mother. It was Next Gen. It was a Sunday night. It came on Sunday nights at 6 p.m. And my mom's like, hey, why don't you sit down? This is a good show. And I was on my way out to go visit some friends. And I was like, well, okay, I'll sit down. And just loved it. It was so fun. But as a teenager and going off to university, life gets busy. And it wasn't until 2000 when the TNG DVDs started being released for the seasons. And I consumed them all. I was going to the library, reading books. Like I couldn't get enough Next Gen. And so since then, it's just, I've been in love with Star Trek, trying to watch everything. About 3 years ago, I was introduced to podcasting, started on Trek FM network on Earl Grey, but now currently have Galaxy Class, which is specifically Next Gen. And I do another podcast called All Good Things that sort of talks about all of Star Trek. And then I'm also on what's called Union Federation podcast, and that specifically deals with the new Star Trek and Orville, which I'm very excited is coming out in June.
Nice. We have an Orville fan here. That's awesome.
Love, love, love it. Oh my gosh.
2,
yeah.
actually, Marcelo also. Do you watch the Orville? Ian, you watch it
Sorry.
also?
I
I've got it,
love
yeah.
the
I've got
Orville.
All right,
You
I'm
gotta
gonna
get
have to
into
give
it,
it
man.
another chance. I stopped watching.
I've got
Orville.
the first 2 seasons on DVD. So yeah,
Dang. I'm gonna have
Yeah,
to give it
true.
another chance.
You must. Don't
I
you
know.
like Next Gen? Like
I do.
every episode there's some tie-in and just Easter egg to Next Gen. Absolutely.
It's true.
love
I
it.
don't
It's
hate. Like, I'm not an
brilliant.
active hater or anything. I just kind of like so much Star Trek stuff was coming out that I was like, oh, I gotta like do this. So it's not like like any sort of thing that I'm against. But by the way, those are all amazing titles for podcasts. I'm quite jealous. Like, it's pretty cool. I mean, All Good Things is like an epic name for a podcast about Star Trek. So that's pretty rad. So, oh, we're so glad to have you. It looks like our audience is really excited. Blue Sparrow says, "Yay, you guys have a girl. I mean, lady." Yes, Blue. We don't want to scare her away, so don't make too much of a big deal about it.
Blue. I just want to say we will have more females in the future because we're gonna do something a little later on towards the end of the month. That's gonna be awesome. So we're gonna have
Oh
some
yeah,
more
let me
people
just give a
on
shout
the
out
podcast.
to Marcel's birthday party, which is coming up. It's going to be broadcast on the other channel, Starfleet Boy After Dark. So we're going to do a watch along of Star Trek 2009, the J.J. Abrams addition to the Star Trek universe.
I just watched that on the plane ride to Chicago. So
Very nice.
Yeah,
I
did you
watched
like
it
it?
the other day too. I watch it a lot. I watched that one, and then I watched like the first few minutes of Into Darkness, and then I don't watch any more of it. And then I also no, there's other moments that are great at Into Darkness, but uh, well, we're here to thank you for sharing your story, and also thank you for coming on. I hope you have fun tonight today, so that you'll come back for more. Let's go ahead and get started. So this episode of Star Trek Picard, episode 8, is takes place right after Jean-Luc got hit by a Tesla, which we've learned are very heavy cars. So that hit like knocked him into a coma. Efforts to save him have been dodgy at best. He's in this like weird fugue or kind of frenetic state, and his brain is like the synapses are going crazy. And no one can, he's stable as far as his vitals go, but no one can bring him out of his coma. So Talon, I'm not sure how you say the name, says, I've got this tech. I can go inside, and even though I don't really know, I'm gonna go with the flow and just let him kind of guide me as to how to help him. But I think this is our best shot. So Rafi and Seven decide they need to go figure out what's going on with Girardi after Rios told them kind of what happened, and with the kiss and like just her acting weird and stuff like that. And then Rios decides to kind of stand guard around the place, and that ends up being really interesting when he has to give the keys to Dr. Teresa, who's absolutely right. Don't you mess around with my clinic, and don't you dare lock doors in my clinic. I love that. And then we have, of course, a very deep look into Jean-Luc's psyche, where we see all kinds of interesting imagery of Jean-Luc's past. Not all of it making sense as it would be in a dream place, but then we finally find out that a psychologist character that Jean-Luc was speaking to is actually his father, like the image of his father, Maurice Picard. We find out that his mother is suffering from mental illness, and we're not quite sure what it is. It hasn't been named or anything like that, but she goes through these like spells of kind of paranoia, it seems, from what we see in the imagery, and like a sense that she's in danger and has to flee. We see that Maurice Picard is a hard individual as we expected, but there's maybe more to his story than we thought, and that's starting to come to light. And we find out that Jean-Luc is maybe finding out things about himself and about his past that he didn't know. And we find out that this is all Q's doing. Q is showing him this for a reason. So after he gets out of his coma, Talon is successful. They're talking about how they need to summon Q to figure out what the heck he wants to do. He realizes after his dreams that like, oh, I need to just confront the villain, head on, and just find out what the heck do you want, Q? Like, I haven't really asked you that. I haven't really like done that. I've only been making it about myself, but it's about him, right? So Talon's like, well, I can't do that. So what do? They go find Guinan, and Guinan frickin' pulls a genie bottle out of her bar, opens it up, does like this primal, visceral kind of ethereal is the word that I was looking for. Ethereal but scary and primal at the same time scream, which woke my cat up from a nap, by the way. When I was watching it today, he freaked out. He was like on high alert. And nothing happens. And then this basically after that, like, someone does walk in. It's a FBI agent, and our two heroes are arrested. And that's where we leave it off. We end another episode on an arrest. This is like what, the second, right? Like the second episode on an arrest. So yeah. How was my summary? What do you guys think?
It was fun.
That was great. I was reliving everything as you described it. So good job.
Awesome. So what did you guys think? Marcel, why don't you go first?
Really? You want to start off with me first? Why don't you let them go first?
What's the deal? Why not you first? Like,
No, I'm
It's
serious.
no, Marcelo. It's start with you, and then we start going up. We start going up after you.
Oh, wow.
All
you're
right,
a tenured member of this
Okay.
crew. Marcel.
Okay, so I'll go first. I really didn't understand why what was happening in John Luke's psyche. I didn't know if that was like a Matrix thing or whatnot. I did like all the stuff between Raffi and Seven. I don't like the Rios and the nurse storyline at all. I haven't liked it at all since it started. Like, I just don't vibe with it. So everything having to do with them in this episode really ticked me off. And the thing that made me really angry is that there's a scene where Rios and the doctor, try and help out Jean-Luc Picard. And Rios has this device, right? And he hands it to the nurse thinking that the nurse will know what to do with it. And that doesn't make any sense
She's
whatsoever.
a doctor, by the way.
She's a doctor, by the way. But why would you hand a piece of equipment from your century to a woman who has no idea how to use it?
I have a
It's dumb.
explanation. Can I give
That's
it to you?
dumb.
Can I give
Go
you a
ahead,
quick
fine.
explanation?
Fine,
Okay,
go
so
ahead, go ahead.
so we've seen evidence that Federation technology is somewhat works somewhat on a psychic level, like in terms of it kind of reads your mind a little bit. And we saw like a more advanced version of this in season 1 with the synths. But in general, so Rios thought the best bet would be if I hand this device that I know works through like brain waves and brain patterns and like kind of like a leveling out to a doctor who understands that stuff better, JL has a better chance of surviving than if I wove the magic wand around, and so on and so forth. So I do agree though, Marcel, that it does appear more magic wandy than we've seen in the past. Like in the past, like we've seen like Dr. McCoy put little things on your head and just a little more like, less hand wavy, I guess. So I agree with that critique of it. Like it does, but I do think there can be an in-universe explanation.
Well, and
I'm with Miss.
Oh,
Sorry, Amy. Go on.
Amy
No,
first,
go on, Amy.
Amy
You go.
first.
Amy first.
No, and I agree with you, and that's sort of how I was going, because like he gets the device and then he's like talking with Teresa, like, okay, so neural, and like they're sort of going through, okay, this is what I know about the brain, maybe this is going to help. And so like he was sort of saying, this is something that can help and you're going to know better than me. However, Marcelo, I was looking at it from a different point of view on why it annoyed me, was that how many times do we see, I don't know, say Dr. Crusher and do something in engineering? Or how many times do we see an engineer help and, do first aid or, something? So I'm like, they're well trained in multiple areas to run a ship. So I was a little surprised that Rios, and especially when he's been running his ship by himself, he would know all aspects. So I agree with you on that, Marcelo.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna agree with Marcelo as well. It's like if we were to go back in time now and then give somebody the blood pressure gauge and say, right, okay, we go back 200 years, go and take that guy's blood pressure. They wouldn't have a clue, would not have a clue. So to do that, to give somebody, it's 200 years or so, if not more, if, I think it's 3 maybe, of technology, and just to give it to somebody and they know exactly how to use it. No, sorry, just not going to happen. And then, and I agree with Amy as well.
It's a sonic
Rios would
screwdriver,
know.
guys. It's a
Rios
sonic
would know
screwdriver.
how to use it. Don't
I
tell
think
me
one of
he's going to reverse the polarity. I know.
the neutron flow. I was thinking Rios might not know, but his hologram certainly, his EMH would have definitely known how to use it. So that would have been a cool thing if we kept the EMHs this season. I know it's a lot of acting, but imagine if they equipped an EMH Rios with a with like the thing that the doctor has,
emitter.
And that would be a
emitter,
cool thing. Or if the Serena defaulted to Dr. Zimmerman, and then we could have a cameo. I know, too much.
I do have.
Well, the thing is that you're not going to have that because this La Serena is from the Confederacy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Not from the
you would
Federation.
have evil Doctor. You have Dr. Mengele version of the EMH. Ian, what do you think of the episode overall?
Strange. It's a strange episode. I mean, you could call it monsters. You could call it demons. You know, it's that type of it. It throws an awful lot at you. And I watched. I don't know if you've seen Trek's Trek Culture. Sean, they seem to have this episode 7 type problem. You know, because obviously season 1 we had Riker and Troy come back in episode 7, and they seem to be throwing an awful lot in episode 7 in this one. It's you know, you've got the bits obviously with Jean-Luc's demons. You've got everything going on. Rios, I don't get in this episode. He's just, I don't know. He's thinking with his heart. He's just being stupid. I like Rios, idiot. But this is episode. He's been. I mean, to take him on the ship. What the hell? You know, what was he thinking? Is he? What? They've been talking literally. Raffi, the episode before, worry about the timeline, and he just goes, "What the?" And then he just takes him on the ship. I mean, the reaction, the reaction was brilliant. The dropping of the coffee mug there, and then the kid going, "I'm going to touch everything." Those bits are brilliant. But what the hell was Rios thinking, taking him onto his ship?
I mean, if you look at the love that he has for Dr. Teresa here, I think I'm starting to come around to it after watching this episode a few more times than my original reaction. I think you saw on Twitter was like, Rios, what the heck are you doing? I felt the same way about it. But after watching it again, now I'm like, I like that Ricardo loves him and Dr. Teresa, and would it be such a bad thing? Like he was talking about in this episode how he's always looked for father figures. Maybe it's time for him to be a father figure, instead.
I mean, saying about, we've got an awful lot of Star Trek 4 in this one. Is it going to be she's going to be the next Dr. Gillian, and then she's going to go to the future as well?
I don't think they're going to the future. I think they're setting up Rios to. Personally, I'm on the Rios is going to stay in the past. Well, I think that's what the writers are setting up.
I hope not, because I want the Rios spin-off. When Picard finishes, I want Rios. I want the Rios spin-off. So I hope they don't write him out. And I think he's a fantastic actor.
Yeah, Santiago.
And I don't want him written out. So
well, he may not want to do more Star Trek too. It might be him, but who knows? One never knows these things. But I don't think
he did 3 seasons of the Three Musketeers, so he could at least do a bit more. Come on.
I love that show, by the way.
I do love that. I love him in Merlin. He's really great as Lancelot in Merlin. If you guys ever see that show, it's pretty cool. Very cool. So overall, though, I get the impression though that you thought of this is like a weird episode for you, and you weren't really like.
Well, I mean, I was watching it intently. That how could you not enjoy it? But there's just certain elements that are annoying's too strong a word. It just didn't sit.
They're like tugging.
Irked me. It just didn't. It didn't sit right. I mean, I'm all for it. The love story. I've got no issues with that whatsoever. I mean, they're quite suited to each other when you look at it, when you look at it that way. But yeah, there's just a couple of things that irked me, that really did. But no, it's still a good episode. I'm not gonna completely bash it, because there's a few bits that I didn't quite. It didn't settle right. It didn't feel right to me. But it's
Well, I
still
look
like
forward to
it.
breaking down some scenes as we go through the discussion to get your more specific thoughts on those things. Amy, what do you think of this episode overall?
The first time watching it, well, I was still on vacation in Chicago. And I was like, what did I just see? I mean, just way more fantasy than I'm used to seeing in Star Trek and way more introspective. Like the story arc like moves, but this one, the story didn't really move. It just got deeper. And so we're really learning what the demons are, what the fears are of our crew. And it's so introspective that it throws you for a loop. And it's like, what is this episode? Does it fit in with the story? So I was talking to my brother who generally doesn't like this drama type of thing. And I told him, I said, listen, you can skip this episode. You don't need to watch it because he wants to see more of the, you know, battles and stuff like that. So it's didn't really move the story, but it got deeper, and I'm one for that. And so I liked the episode, but it did take me a couple times watching it through to really pick up what it was trying to say.
In a 20 some odd episode season, when you do an episode that doesn't fit like how it's been going so far, it's okay because you have like, you're like, oh, this is a one-off. Like this is an episode that's going to go in a different direction. And it took me a second to realize that that's what this episode is. It is the weird, like, maybe what's the word for it? The concept episode of the season, perhaps. And so shifting my lens a little bit to look at it that way, I see it differently. And having these discussions being timely and right after each episode is fun because as the show progresses, we get to revise how we think, right? Like we get to see like, and then finally there will be a finale at some point and we'll be like, aha, or I hated it, or I loved it. So, but we're getting close to that. There's only 3 more episodes left. So this is an episode that also I think is, after watching it a few times, I don't know what the clues mean because this season truly has me baffled as far as like how it's going to wrap up or anything like that. I have no clue. I don't know about you guys, but like I don't have one solid, like for sure, I can't tell one way or another, but there's a lot of like clues
one
around.
thing that is going to be, one thing that for sure that's going to happen. Picard's going to get back because there's season 3 coming around.
Yeah,
the
that's
corner.
that's a shame, isn't it, that we know a few things? Yeah, like we do
I know
know a few
that's
things.
yeah.
I do.
Yeah,
I
that's the only.
I love that announcement. Don't get me wrong. It was like, but like, let me finish season 2, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It's the timing was not great. Yeah. Do you going back to what you're saying about being that one episode in 20 is fine, but don't you find that when it's a shorter season the way it is, it sticks out even more?
Yeah, and for me, it worked. I like it, but I am curious to see how it will inform or finish off this season. Like that's the part I can't get, and that's probably what makes me uncomfortable about it initially. Where I was like, what? Why am I being shown these things? Like, what's important about it? Like, because we are all analyzing it, and so yeah, I agree with Amy. Like the first time I saw this episode was like the like 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning whenever it drops, and I was like, the next day I was flying out to Mission Chicago, and so I had a lot of like other things on my mind and stuff. So when I did watch it, I loved the imagery, but I was a little baffled as to the message. And then there's the big thing for me, and I know that this is true for a bunch of other folks, but I feel like, and upon retrospect, I don't think the show like was intending for this to happen. But me personally, I just didn't like Maurice Picard, like from how I knew him before. Like he was very mean to Jean-Luc in that one flashback, that cute in Tapestry, I think it is, right? And then in general, like the way Robert treats him in Family, and like how he's a bully, and like Jean-Luc, it seems that like I forget the exact lines, but Jean-Luc implies that both Maurice and his father were bullies, right? So I never liked Maurice Picard. I had this like bad impression of him, so I immediately thought that he was being abusive to Yvette. I thought that was plausible, and he might still be, because certainly it doesn't look like they're handling it very well, her mental illness very well as a family. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to ask a question. Like, do you feel that like that dungeon and the tunnels, that Maurice was the one who built it for her? Or do you think that she was the one, building that so that she had a way to escape and to run away from her fears?
I think those tunnels were already there. I think they're part of the structure of Chateau
Because
Picard.
if you remember when you go back, Picard said that they used those tunnels to escape the Second World War.
Right.
So I would say that they were already there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the read that I have from the episode, that's a good question, is that she would get into these like moments where and again, I don't know enough about this, so I'm just like speculating here, but she would get into these like sort of manic states or paranoid states, and to her the tunnels probably seemed comforting because it's like, oh, I'm trapped here, but I know I can escape. People used to escape through these tunnels before. It just seems like, knowing the history of the place and everything, like that she would, that was her first idea. But it also seems that in her state she would get lost, like she wouldn't know where she is, things like that. She wouldn't know where Jean-Luc was. She would leave Jean-Luc alone, and so in this one instance, this incident that we're being shown. Also, one thing I loved about this episode was how it went from that fantastical look that you were talking about, how she had the red hair and the gown, the queen's gown and everything like that. But then later, when you see the actual memory, because there's two things happening. There's a fantasy that Jean-Luc is creating for the psychologist and for the audience, and then there's the actual memory of what had occurred. And what had occurred is that she convinced Jean-Luc to run away with her. She's like, in one of her states, they went down into the tunnels, and then Jean-Luc got trapped. And had Maurice not found his book that he had dropped, Jean-Luc may have been trapped there during rains, and apparently it gets flooded and he could have drowned or something like that. So this is something that Yvette, it's not her fault. I think that, it's she's untreated for a condition that, that she's going through, and so unfortunately, like, it can get worse and worse, so she might not even be aware where her son is. Maybe she's hallucinating, like, again, we don't know much about the condition, but it's just a very sad story. And I don't know where the show's going. I'm not gonna jump to conclusions on it. I'm gonna let them tell me their message in future episodes. But it's very heavy. It's a very heavy, deep, strong, and like, I think it's gonna hit different people different ways. In terms of how they react to it, like especially people who have similar traumas in their past. So yeah, I think that I give an award to this episode for this alone, because it's pretty heavy. It's not afraid to go somewhere. I don't know where it's going, but it's not afraid to go there, which is cool.
I think there's two bits that sort of counteract, I mean, what you were saying about your feelings on Maurice before this, because of saying how hard he was. But there was two, for me, there was two bits. Is you saw his caring nature when he released Jean-Luc's foot from the wood. That was a typical father move. Father thing. And then the bit, obviously, after he explained it, and then Jean-Luc says to him, "I really didn't know you."
Right.
And he said that to him. So I think it's like we all have these, with certain experiences, we build this idea up in our heads, whether it's relatives, whether it's people we've met, that certain things happen. Or obviously he's seen bits with his mother and father. He thinks his father's being a monster to his mother, but Maurice is doing everything in his power to make it right. But Jean-Luc is seeing it's something. So he's put his father up as this bully and uncaring and over there, but all Maurice is doing is to the best of his ability. So right. I think that's the bit that comes through with that.
But there is some truth to Maurice's, like, I'm not going to try to blame. I think that's the thing that we're going to get to, is we can't blame any of them for this. Like, what I mean? Like, we're trying to look for someone to blame or something. It's like, that's what I was doing. I was blaming Maurice, and stuff like that. But I think we'll come to like a better understanding. But I will just say that, like, from what we know of Maurice, like he was different from, like, it's like growing up in a family today that doesn't allow technology. Like, I mean, he's even dressing them like newsies. Like, they're all dressed like, no, I'm just kidding. But we know, we know that at Kirk's time, people were dressing futuristic. So it is something unique to this family and perhaps this village, or, in France or whatever. But like even the style of dress, the fashion of dress, like you don't see any hollow things. There's definitely not a replicator. I can guarantee you that. Like in Chateau Picard, things are kept very, very old. Not just like old 100 years ago, but from their perspective, old like 500 years ago. So, again, I don't think the sad thing is that I don't think this show will explore fully as I want, what's to come, but I think we will learn a lot more. I like this comment from Jill. 47. There's a couple. I wonder whether Picard was feeling trapped in his childhood because as a child he felt guilt for not helping his mother more. I have never seen this powerlessness of kids addressed in fiction. That's a really good call out.
Can I add on to that?
Yeah, please.
Because when I was watching this the second time and really seeing, okay, we have Picard's perspective and sort of, yeah, like you said, Ian, you got him with this story, but then it's mirroring what he sees in real life and how the story and real life come together. And so we have his perspective, and then we learn Maurice's perspective, and sort of to the point where we're learning Yvette's with her, being paranoid and going through these panic states. And it just, for me, well, I'm a school teacher, and to see students living through parents that have these mental illnesses, I've had, unfortunately, come across it a couple times, and it is so heartbreaking to see that, but to see it mirrored here and just sort of get a different perspective. Like, I feel like it's gives us greater compassion for those that have to be raised in an environment like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really good point. And then Trekker Prize, hey, Trekker Prize is here. He says, I think the whole memory lane tunnel with crowns and dragons was a cheap excuse to do a good old fashioned medieval episode. It was a scary ass medieval episode, but yeah, it was like definitely a little bit a nice reminder that Star Trek does occasionally delve into the fantastical, and like which Q actually did. Like the last time I think we were in this kind of like a kings and queens and gowns and princes and princesses time was Cupid. Yeah, so that's cool.
Yeah. But also, I don't know if you picked up on it, that when Talon starts going through the tunnels, you obviously get the cutest of Borg from Best of Both Worlds. You also get him when he says in Tapestry, I'd rather die the way I am now than going on. So there is elements of that when she's going through. There's John Luke saying, so you've got Tapestry there, you've got Best of Both Worlds. We all know that the Borg has haunted him ever since then. So that was quite good that she heard that as she was walking through.
Yeah, there's some cowboys in his subconscious, I'll tell you that.
Well, and one thing that, like at the end when Talon like pulled him out and it's like, well, you still have some demons in there.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. And she's like, but think about, you've lived your life this whole time carrying that pain. You can still do this. We can still, get back to and save the time. Like, even though you are going through this pain. So it's like recognizing it and knowing that you've been successful, so we can keep on going through the pain.
Yeah, she said, because she says you've saved so many lives with using this pain, drawing on this pain, and systems. So yeah,
I love that scene too. Do you guys have any idea what the heck these scary, crazy things are? Can you guys see them? Is it too dark? There's like this
manifestations of his subconscious. I think
I mean, I'm freaked out by them, but I kind of wish they were familiar things like Borg drones or, perhaps Romulans even, or something like, but
the bit with Talon, that looks like a hideous mask of like a Picard. You know, that could be
Oh, interesting. I didn't even think of it that way.
Of his dark side.
I thought of Doctor Who, the on Starship UK, those like guys that like make the angry face at you before they throw you into the star whale's belly.
Yeah.
That's
or
what
there
I
was
thought
the ones from Madame Pompadour, wasn't it? With the clockwork
yeah, those are scary
type.
too. Yeah, scary
Yeah.
stuff. But the other one, I wonder if that's. I'm wondering if the one on the right is Q, because the face is blurred out, but he's wearing like a kind of like this like jester Joker type of hat, and in the one scene he does this very dramatic thing with his hands when he lets go of I think Jean-Luc, when Talon tells him to let go or something like that. So I'm wondering if that's who that is, and we'll see. I wonder if we haven't seen the end of the monster visions, and that we'll see that face clear up from being blurry or not. A lot of cool comments in the comments, guys. Sorry if I don't get to all the comments, but Cerulean Blue says, so this season is all about forgiveness, letting go of deep-rooted traumas inside and healing. Yeah, I think that's something that, on many levels that we all can kind of relate to after going through this pandemic. I think that might be, hopefully, the monsters of the last 2 years, we can all heal from them and kind of, get back to a balance, as it were. So yeah, I like that thought. Anything else on the I love that we went deep right away into the dream sequences. Anything else on those dream sequences, guys?
I think we've.
Do you guys know who James Callis was, and were you excited to see him play the psychologist and Maurice Picard?
Yes.
Yep.
Of course I do. Yes. Yeah.
You too, Marcelo?
Yeah.
You know him from BSG, right? All of us watched BSG.
Oh hell yeah, I love BSG. So
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
exactly who
Okay,
that
I'm
guy
glad.
was.
Yeah, that was like one of the biggest treats I thought of this episode, was having James Callis, and I would just here. I got this slide of that, like, and I would just like to say that, like, aside from the dream sequence with his mother, Jean-Luc with his mother and everything like that, showing us the stuff with his mother. I thought it was interesting. Like, a lot of people were predicting that James Callis was going to play Maurice Picard, but I didn't think he was, because he was in that Starfleet uniform in the previews. But like at the same time, I was like open-minded to it because of the predictions that I'd heard. But I was very curious about this scene upon my most recent viewing, because there's a lot of other layers of like, we saw like childhood Picard's perspective, but there's a lot of interesting layers to adult Picard that this character uncovers. I wonder, do you guys have any thoughts on why Jean-Luc did not recognize his father until later in the episode?
I think as children, especially if we're in an abusive relationship, we see certain family members in a certain light. And when we get older, and if that trauma is dealt with successfully, when we get older, we start to see our parents or our loved ones for who they really were. We don't get to when we get older, we don't see them as villains anymore. No matter what they've done to us, we sort of are able to sympathize with them to a certain extent, and to see where they were coming from, even when they were abusing us or bringing us down when we were younger. Well, that's how I read it. That's how I read the fact that he couldn't really tell who his father was at the beginning of the episode, and he had to sort of work it out as the episode progressed.
Yeah, like, yeah, it is. That is interesting. I like that. That's a good take. I think I think it's like, what is, the parts of this that I'm confused about mostly is like, what is Q showing? Because we do learn that this is all Q showing Jean-Luc things, right? So what is Q trying to tell Jean-Luc? I guess we'll find out, of course, but that's really, what I'm wondering is like, what is going on? Like, I like the line, there's so many good lines in this sequence, but the one about, your friends don't even call you your friends even call you captain, and that's true. Everyone calls him captain. Which, by the way, Marcel, you don't have to call me captain anymore. I don't want to be
Oh,
like
bold.
Jean-Luc. You can just
Bold.
say so hail.
You're always going to be captain to me, sir. Always going to be captain.
Mind you, he still has that right near the end. He still has that. Still has that little dig, doesn't he? He said, "You lasted longer, but I kept the hair."
I know. So yeah, there's like there's a few signs of like what Maurice Picard. There's a few moments where you get the sense that Jean-Luc is starting to recognize his father, and it was always in those jabs. Like he did that, and he also said something about like, oh, I should have listened to what others were saying about you. That that line, that bit, and then Jean-Luc gets really upset, and he's like, what is this? Like, why are you asking people about me? And like we've all been in that situation, I think.
Yeah.
But he also says something interesting, which is like, I thought Starfleet stopped using psychologists like you or doctors like you, and I never got that impression. I felt like psychology was alive and thriving in the 25th century, but I guess it's just transformed. Maybe counselors are more the thing rather than a psychologist. I don't know. That was an interesting line. I'm not sure.
You also have that little nod to, well, I'm presuming it's to Deanna, where he said, "You're that closed off, even a Beta couldn't get through. A Beta couldn't get through." So whether that's a nod to Deanna, I don't know.
It probably is. Probably is.
Yeah, it's true. He did. Yeah. Here's an interesting theory. Maybe Q did something bad to his own son, needs Picard to forgive him because his own son won't or can't. I haven't finished Voyager yet. I know it's really bad. I apologize
Oh my gosh.
to all the Voyager fans out there. I really do. I'm on my way. I'm working on it, but I haven't really met Q's son yet. But I heard he's a beloved character, and he was played by John Delancey's own son, if I'm not mistaken, right?
He was, yeah.
But yeah, like that is interesting. Like that's like kind of an elephant in the room. Like we don't know much about why Q is freaked out or why he's doing all this, but also, like do you guys remember that episode? Was Q very caring and loving as a father? Did he care about his son? Like how was he with Q Jr.?
I wouldn't say necessarily he cared, but he was very Q-ish. He was caring, but he was caring in like in a kind of a mean way. He was caring, but he was mean. Like he was very mischievous. I guess. And plus, he really didn't want to deal with his son anymore. He kind of had enough of his son, so that's why he kind of just threw him to Catherine to deal with for at least one episode, or at least that's how I'm remembering the episode.
I think it's interesting this whole season. Now I'm starting to think about it. There's a lot of balance or like stories being told about mothers and fathers and parents in general and families. There's something going on here because, by the way, Cerulean Blue asks, I never saw Picard as a father, more as a stern school teacher. How do you guys relate to Jean-Luc?
Picard.
Well, I mean, I've read books.
No, you
sorry.
personally. How do you personally relate to him? Do you see him as a father figure or no?
Picard to me has never had. Sure, he has qualities that he has that leadership quality. He has that person that quality that this is a person that I need to look up to, and this is a person that I need to follow because I will learn great things from this person. But I never personally saw him as someone who would feel comfortable having a family of his own, because it is well established early on that he does not like children. From the very from the word jump in TNG, he says to Riker, I need you to do me a favor. Starfleet has given me a boatload of children, and I need you to make sure that I project a image of congeniality.
Yeah, that's
right.
Nice. Yeah,
so it's like
it's funny. There's all these people who think Picard's like awesome because there's like propaganda that Riker and Troy are spreading about.
Yeah, I mean,
and he's
look. I'm not saying that Jean-Luc wouldn't make a good father figure, but I personally don't see him that way because of the examples that I just said. Because of his past behavior and what he has said about children and how he feels about that. I look at him more as a teacher or a person to look up to, a person to
Yeah.
inspire. A person that I inspire to be like. So
Very nice. Amy, how about you? Do you feel like Jean-Luc is fatherly figure to you? Father figure?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with what both of you said, and so I'm gonna say it like this. Maybe I put him as like a grandfather, like once removed. Like for me, when I think of a parent, like obviously go for guidance and all of that stuff, but I'd also go for comfort. And Picard is not the ideal person to go for comfort. And so, like, as a grandparent, yeah, look up how you can do this, major experiences. What can you teach me? All that wisdom. Like, that's a good grandfather role, good leader, diplomat, like, awesome, awesome, but not that parent because I prefer having the comfort of a parent, a safe place to go to. And I don't feel that from him.
And that might be reflective because that's interesting because he shuns being seen that way and doesn't want to be seen that way because his childhood wasn't exactly what he thought of as
I think if you go back, if you look at it, the way his childhood, which you're seeing now, coupled with being, I know it's not the right word, but a career military man and being he was on the Stargazer for over 20 years. You didn't have families on the Stargazer. It was just Starfleet. You didn't have their families. And I think then going on to the Enterprise, where all of a sudden you've got families, you've got children. If you've not dealt with that before, you're going to feel awkward. You're going to feel... That's why, as I said, he goes to Riker and asks for help with it. But I feel that through TNG, he softens. He does soften as it goes through because he's had to deal with children. He's had and if you look at the books as well, he is a father. It's Rene. I think it's Rene Picard, his and Beverly's son.
Oh,
because
cool. Okay.
in the books, Jean-Luc and Beverly
really
are married. And then they have a son as
That
well.
would help me forgive Star Trek for killing Renee and Robert in a fire in
Are we
Generations.
still on this?
Actually, I will never forgive Star Trek for killing Renee.
Forgive already.
Little Renee.
But that goes back to what they're saying with no technology in the house.
Yeah, it's true. They could have had fire suppression systems and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's true.
But
this family, man, the Picard family's so messed up.
Okay, hold up.
That?
Wasn't the fire in like the barn? So, like, would they have fire suppression material in like the barn?
In the future, bro, they have like fire suppression micro things everywhere. Yeah. It's like everything's fireproof in the future. It's like, come on, like that's a no-brainer. They can control the weather. They move continents back to their like ideal state. I mean, I feel like like fire suppression should be.
And also, they're making wine,
managed.
so there's going to be alcohol there. So you would have some sort of thing. And alcohol does go up in flames. So you would have those gases and everything from there.
What
so
if
I would
the
have said
guilt
yes.
Q feels is that he killed Renee and Robert Picard?
But
No, he
why
wouldn't.
would he?
I don't know why he would do
I
it.
can't see him being that.
Why would he do that?
I just wanted to throw out a controversial hot take, and it worked.
That's just going straight off that angle.
I do have one more thing to say about the Picard being a parent or a good teacher. I feel that Riker would be a better father figure.
I want Riker to be a dad.
Picard,
well, he is a dad. Sorry, he is. We've seen him as a
like,
dad, and he's wonderful.
Because like Amy pointed out in her comments, she said that she doesn't see the warmth from Picard or the kindness. Picard isn't someone who you feel comfortable coming to with a problem or whatever. Riker is that guy who, if you have a problem, you just come to him and he's going to play you some jazz. He's going to make you feel better. And he
make
just
a pizza.
He's
going to make your pizza. Bunny corn pizza.
He just has this way about him that Picard doesn't have. And
what Riker has is a natural warmth, right? Like he's not afraid to just hug you or like, get there. And we saw in season 1, Jean-Luc even says, I love Data in my own way. Like Jean-Luc is aware, I think, at this point that he doesn't, he doesn't, and even in this episode, Yvette says, "You're just like your father, more expressive with your hands than with your words," or something to that effect.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So
I I do have one more thing to say, and then I swear to God, we can move on.
No, it's okay. I love this vibe. It's cool.
Yeah. I personally don't think that Picard started to soften up as TNG went along. I think that we are getting to see the emotional side of Picard just now in Star Trek Picard. We've never seen him be portrayed in such a vulnerable, introspective way. In the way that we're seeing him be, figured out here like a character. So I really like Picard for that aspect, that we're seeing Jean-Luc at a different stage in his life, and we're seeing a more emotional side to him than we got in TNG or the films.
Yeah, and I mean,
yeah.
I do think
was
there
just
was
gonna
unintentional growth though in TNG. I think there's some comments like Jill pointing out about his relationship with Data. Like I think over time, just those stories kind of create, like, your mind can create a pattern or an arc that. But you're right, 100%. Now it's like this is more than even. I think the film started to touch on this a little bit with Jean-Luc, But yeah, we've gone a whole new. We've opened more doors into Jean-Luc in Picard.
I think also we go back to I think it's the first episode with Laris.
Mm-hmm.
When you think they're going to have that tender moment, but he just holds off. And it just
it's because he loves
kills
Beverly.
it a little bit.
Because he remembered Beverly. That's why.
Yeah,
no, 100%.
Yeah,
That's
right.
what it was.
Give me all a Brady any day. Sorry, but,
Yes, I am torn as well, but still, it's Beverly.
but I think with that bit, I don't. Yeah, to be honest, at that point, I don't think Beverly was on his mind at all. But there was that tendency, but he just pulled back a bit, and I think that's where Marcelo's going with it. And I think,
all kidding aside, that was just him again. Retracting from connection, right? Like retracting
connection
from
and tenderness and everything else.
I think he is. I don't think that Picard doesn't want to have a relationship. I think that he doesn't really know what will happen.
Know how to
once he fully commits to a relationship, and I think that is terrifying to him in some way, because like Ian said, for the most part, Jean-Luc has been a military man for his whole career. So he has never put himself above the mission of Starfleet or the grander mission of Starfleet. And I think if he finally does that in Picard Season 3 with Beverly, I'm hoping, that he will be in uncharted territory as a character, and I hope that we get to see some of that.
Real quick, hot off the presses, Jill had posted this early and I meant to read it, but I also just got sent a tweet. So the sorcerer, poised to reduce them to fractions of dust, stopped. His magic was gone, stolen back in the very manner he had arrived by it. Beaten by his own game, he melted and all was right again. Q! That's Q, right? That's got to be Q. The sorcerer, poised to reduce them to fractions of dust, stopped. I feel like that's the threat, right? Like the trial was like humanity was, I don't know. I feel this is very Q. This reads of.
Well, you could say that with his magic is gone because he's doing that and nothing's happening.
And nothing's happening.
So
and stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, you could
do. Nice catch, Jill. Thanks. Sorry I didn't put that up earlier, but yeah. And then one real quick, I saw a comment about, I think it was Cerulean Blue, who pointed out that Picard didn't feel like a father to them, but that Cisco did. And I have to say, Cisco's such a great portrayal of fatherhood.
Well, Cisco is a father anyway, isn't he?
Yeah,
So
he is an actual father.
Straight off the bat, he's a father. So,
but yeah, lots of good talk about fathers. Anything else on that? Guys?
I think,
all right.
Okay.
Marcelo still wants to talk. Go.
Wait, you've already said that twice now.
Okay. But in fairness, it's this guy's fault because he keeps opening the door, so I just keep walking in. I do think that fathers go into fatherhood trying to be the best example for their kids that they can be, but often, many times, their own demons prevent them from being the best version of themselves for their children that they can be. So I think everybody goes into fatherhood trying to do the best, but sometimes they can't quite get there because of their own past and their own hangups as an individual, which is really, really sad. But ultimately, I think everybody tries to do the best that they can do for their children.
Right on. What'd you guys? Okay, so I'm gonna skip to then. Let's talk right about let's go straight to back to Rios for a second.
Oh,
and
can
what do
I
you guys
do a tie-in for that then?
Yeah, please, yes.
Because what Marcelo was saying with Picard of not being able to fully commit, I think contrast that with what Rios is, and I just thought of this, like why he was bringing up Teresa and the son, because now Rios is like, I'm gonna commit to this. I thought,
Yep.
okay, then
Yep.
maybe if that's
like
his
that.
angle, then I'm going to be more accepting of him beaming them up. But I'm like, why would you beam them up? And are you going to take them away from their life? Is that even what they want? I don't know. I just thought maybe there's a little tie-in with
Yeah,
that.
they're not going in the future. Also, someone else, I think, I forget who it was who pointed it out in the chat, but we have a clue that they're not going into the future, which is we do see the butterflies on containers when Seven's rangering in the first episode aboard La Sirena, and it's the same butterfly logo that is on her clinic. So I think Rios is going to stay back in time, and a great work is going to come from their relationship. And yes, it is polluting the timeline, but like in a way that like I don't really care. like you know what I mean? Like maybe it was always meant to. There's also this whole predestination paradox thing, you know, that like maybe that's the way it was always supposed to turn out. It's like what Dr. McCoy says, like, you know, Kirk hands him the glasses that Dr. McCoy bought him from an antique store are the same glasses that Kirk sells them to. So there's no origin. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Right,
Kirk,
yeah.
like, where did that come from? And Rios is a paradox. This is how he was always supposed to end his journey, is to go back in time and then end in the past, you know, and that's, I think, a way that we're not used to that. Like we're used to like, if you make a single change, you know, you have to change it back to the way it was, right? But supposing that time travel is actually possible and is real, that means it's happening all the time right now, unbeknownst to us non-time travelers. The only people who understand what's going on from like that perspective would be the time traveler. For us, things would change and we wouldn't even notice it because that's how they always were. So it's a really hard thing to grasp, but I know this math teacher probably has a few equations and and things that she might be able to like cite, or I know you probably see it in your mind a little bit more mathematically, but yeah, there's a lot of math that backs up these theories, by the way, which when it comes to time travel theory and like quantum physics and stuff like that, things start to get spooky, as it's known, I think is the actual term, and they things behave in unexpected ways from the standard model of physics. So yeah, it's crazy stuff.
So anytime anything goes bad in my life, I can just blame some time traveler.
Time traveler, 100%. Yeah.
Okay. Done.
There you go.
if you actually want to talk about time travel, what you've described is, I don't know if you've seen. It's called The Final Countdown. It's Kirk Douglas. It's set about when a modern day aircraft carrier all of a sudden gets ported back to just before Pearl Harbor. And it's a big story, and Martin Sheen's in it and everything else. But there's a character played by James Farentino. And you find out right at the end of the film that obviously James Farentino gets off the ship and because he falls in love with this woman, that he sends Martin Sheen's character onto the ship to fulfill that destiny of when he goes back into the Second World War. So there is that. So it's a 1980s film, which obviously it's just this weather phenomenon, and they go back to 1940, whatever, I can't remember when Pearl Harbor was, but back to then, and it's quite, so maybe you've got those elements. So yeah, maybe, you know, Rios is actually his own great grandfather type thing.
Or it could just be a side family. Like maybe he doesn't even, or maybe he doesn't have a kid with Dr. Teresa. Like there could be a lot of for Rios to have been born didn't need Rios to go back in time necessarily. I think people are just looking at it a little too one-dimensionally there. Maybe Rios's ancestors are still having babies and his line will continue elsewhere. His relationship with Dr. Teresa may not even affect that. You know what I mean? Like who's to say she'll even take his name? Who's to say they'll even get married, or who's to say they'll even, you know, have a kid of their own? Maybe he just will be satisfied raising Ricardo. Maybe he won't want to pollute the timeline. That's what he'll do. He'll stay and help, but he won't do anything like, you know, have children or something like that to stop it from, you know, to stop that kind of thing from happening. That's just my opinion. Like you could stay in the past, and there's time refugees that go to the future all the time in Star Trek, but we rarely see time refugees that decide to stay in the past. And I think that's an interesting new twist.
Can I just say it doesn't matter, because at the end of the season, whatever they're gonna do, Picard's gonna fix all this crap. So sorry for the language. But whatever they're gonna do, Picard's gonna fix all this crap. And this timeline that we're seeing right now is not going to exist. It's going to go poof out the window.
Well,
like
no,
that.
Marcel, at this point, the timeline.
You're trying to steal my joy. Don't try and
I'm
steal
sorry,
my joy. Like that.
but just to let you know that at this point, it's still a part of both futures. Like we're at a fork in the road, so to speak. So it could go either way. So at this point, this is part of their actual history and past in both timelines. So that's my take on it anyways.
So Marcelo, I have a question for you. If what you're saying is true, and so when Picard fixes it, whose memories are going to forget all of this? Or do you think that everyone is still going to have memories of this? Do you think that Teresa, if she stays there and everyone leaves, will she remember meeting Rios? Will Seven and Raffi remember coming back? And, you know, who's going to retain their memories? Is it only going to be Picard because it's Q and Picard?
Okay, no, but I think that, you know, when our, you know, band of misfits here fix everything, they're going to be the only ones that remember everything from this specific fork in the road, like Captain Down There says.
Are you including Guinan?
Yes, of course I'm including Guinan. Now,
so then why not Teresa?
Yeah, because you know why not Teresa? Because I don't like Teresa, so I just leave her out because I want to be mean.
Jeez, like wow.
Don't even go there. Like when I saw Rios and Teresa together, I fell in love with them. And then when when Ice had him, you know, and then she got taken away, I'm like, please bring her back. So I'm very excited to see that.
Okay, look. I don't
thinking about it, I don't think Guinan will, because if the timeline gets reset.
Okay.
Right.
Guinan will remember when they go back to, you know, with Data's head and everything else, because obviously she doesn't know Picard because of the Confederacy and everything else. So maybe it will be reset, and this Guinan won't remember this bit, but he'll remember from
I just
when they
want to know
went
if
back in time
Elnor's
to
going
get
to
Data's
come
head.
back to life. That's all.
Elnor will come back.
Like
Elnor will come back.
I just don't want Elnor to stay dead at all. Like that's my whole thing this season. That might be the one where you see Starfleet Boy rip his uniform and throw his badge down on the floor. What was it in what's that Neil Diamond movie? Not Coming to America.
A singer.
The jazz singer, yeah, when his dad like rips his thing. I'm gonna do that to Star Trek. I'll be like, no, don't kill my son. Elnor's my son.
That.
Actually, no, that's a really weird thing because I've said in the past that he's my boyfriend, but okay. He's my boyfriend, not my son.
This is a whole different show.
Yeah, this is a whole different show. We'll save this for the After Dark stuff.
Isn't that Jerry Springer? I think that's Jerry Springer.
Or Jerry Springer, yeah. We've covered almost everything in the episode. I just want to take a few minutes to talk about to talk a little bit more about Seven, Girardi, and Raffi. What do you guys think of that whole the progress in that story that we've gotten so far?
It was nice to see Raffi back to her normal self.
Like a little happy. She was happy, right? Like for a moment.
Yeah, because when talking about Jurati and Rio, saying, no, they're the backstory. We're the main story. We're the big, we're the big time. You and I and all that stuff. We're going to grow old and trip teenagers up and all that stuff.
That was really sweet.
That's the Raffi of old. Yeah, that's the Raffi of old.
Yeah, that was the scene here. It was really nice.
It's nice to see her not so grief-stricken and sort of bound by that grief. So it was good to see, but getting back to what we were expecting to see after when season 1 finished. So it was good to see.
Do you think that 7 is going to reciprocate? Because there was like a couple of digs in there about their relationship, and Ralphie's telling this story of what she imagines, but is 7 having those same thoughts and like sort of some of the looks that 7 gives Ralphie, like, oh, you know how it's going to end. And I'm like, well, wouldn't you want it to end that same way too? So I'm interested to see if they're going to get there at the same time to the same place.
And this is why you need, after Picard finishes, you need the spin-off series so we can carry on and find out what's going to go on between them. This is what we need.
During their scene, they discover that Jurati, they're trying to sleuth out where Jurati is and what she's been up to, and so they're Seven and Raffi. Seven's convinced that that's it. She's a lost cause. The Borg Queen has her, and Raffi's like, no, she's still Jurati. We got to help her, and stuff like that. But we do get Sunny Ozell, who Marcelo mentioned earlier. I just want to show her again because I love her singing, and we get this like crazy moment where the Borg Queen Jurati breaks glass, and this is like the Borg Queen's attempt to continue to control Jurati. It seems like Jurati is fighting, even though we're not seeing like like that. It would have been neat if like they could switch it around so that we have the Borg Queen. I love the way it's presented, but it would have been neat if we could switch it around where we have the Borg. I know it's odd to imagine, but the Borg Queen in the red dress, and then Jurati like as the hallucination, like on the side. Even though people see Jurati, that we as the audience would see the Borg Queen running around and doing all these things. I think that would like make it a clearer thing to see them fighting. But at the same time, I like the way the implication's still there, and I see Jurati is fighting, and the Borg Queen still has to like do these things to kind of get the upper hand again.
Wow, watch out, Jonathan Frakes. A new producer, new director.
Hey, we all got ideas,
basically, you're just saying Wonder Woman 1984 when Chris Pine comes back.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying.
I love Chris Pine. I'm so glad we're getting another movie with Chris Pine and crew. I'm so happy because I really love him.
You're happy. You're happy. I'm popping.
I know
balloons,
you're through the
friend.
moon. Yeah, it's true.
It would have been, it would have been cool if we would have seen a scene with Jurati actually fighting with the Borg Queen. If we would have heard that internal monologue, and if she would have tried to like cut herself or something with like a knife or something, I think that would have been more dramatic than just her randomly walking up to a window and going, with the glass. I thought, it would have been really cool to see Jurati sort of try and stop her from cutting herself or something to that effect, And I just want to say it was really cool to see 7 have some lines this episode because
we got a lot of complaints about last week.
Last week she did nothing. She just stood there like the pretty woman that she is. She did nothing. So I appreciated her lines this week.
So
it'd be interesting to see. Sorry, Amy. I was just going to say it'd be interesting to see though if she had cut herself. Would that have given the Borg Queen more of a hold? Because they're saying because 7 was saying about the endorphins was kicking in for the nanobots. Maybe cutting herself, and then it would start healing her skin.
Right. I think.
Go on, Amy. Sorry.
I think the Borg Queen would be the one that was trying to cut herself, and Jurati would have been the one trying to stop that from happening. So that's how I saw it. Sorry.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Amy?
Was Jurati or the Borg Queen? Was she trying to get in to something, or was she just trying to exert her control that I'm in control?
Seven said, she said, it's the endorphins that will help produce the nanobots to take over Jurati's body. So when she's doing that, it was the thrill or whatever it was of the smashing of the glass, would the flow of endorphins within the body and the nanobots would increase. So that's where that was from.
My impression is that the Borg Queen has to remain in control long enough for a transformation to begin, so that she can then start assimilating others. So Jurati's fighting. Basically, it's kind of like once the Borg Queen takes over this new body, it's over. Like that's it. She's gonna start assimilating others. But at this moment, Jurati the impression I get is that at this moment she's not quite fully powered yet. So she's trying to expose herself to thrills, if you will, to get Jurati's body to produce endorphins so that she could produce more nanobots to get that ultimate control.
So if you notice, when the glass smashed, the eyes went black again. Her eyes went black again.
Right, and it was
when the
before
Borg Queen took over.
the singing before. That's why she like prompted her to sing, because that was like such a rush that it gave her that thing. So it is interesting, like this idea that the Borg Queen needs you to be in a rush, like in a state of ecstasy, if you will, or have those endorphins making you happy in order to take you, which is crazy.
Well, that absolutely love the answer, and I agree. So thank you for filling in that gap. And then I have another question, like, why did Seven throw the glass on the ground? I mean, to see it break.
To experience the rush. That's what I think it was. Like, she was like, what? Why would you break glass? Like, what does that do? So she threw it on the ground, and when she experienced the rush of like the glass breaking, because it is actually, have you guys ever thrown a bottle on the ground? It's a rush. You gotta like, it's like, I'm doing something bad, like this is like not something I'm supposed to do. And so I think that's when two and two to go together, because she would know as a former Borg that that rush is what makes you vulnerable, like to the transformation or the assimilation.
There's actually places where you can actually pay to go and break stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That sounds hecka fun.
Yeah. You pay like a specific amount of money for like 2 hours. You get locked in a room, and you put on safety glasses, and you take a bat, and you break glass and shit, and it's really cool.
Ceramics,
like
glass. I've seen this. Yeah, I've seen this, Marcella. Yeah, where they basically, it's a baseball bat or an axe or whatever, and you just kick the crap out of everything.
Yeah.
Well, let's. If you guys have nothing more to say about these guys, let's move on to the finale over here. So when Jean-Luc gets out of his coma, and he basically, as we had already said, talks to Laris, and he figures out he needs to confront Q, and he goes to see Guinan. I was just personally like, I just love the actor who plays Guinan. Her name is, I can't remember her last name, but the first name I think is Ito. And so I was really glad to see her again. And this was the most Guinan-y she's been, I think, so far. Like this, I don't know, some folks I've seen saying that like this is like too far into the realm of like non-science, right? But I've never thought of the Elorians as like, necessarily like whatever magic or technology they have is like obviously enough to be formidable to the Q if the Q was afraid of her, right? Like, so I always knew there would be something. And then they're long-lived. They can change their appearance. They can age if they want to. They can not age. So Elorians do seem like fantastical to me. But this was just like a great in terms of just what I enjoyed the most about it was just seeing Guinan and Picard like palling around, like not like necessarily palling around, but like, like conspiring together to try to help do something good, and I loved all that. And then seeing her on the Ready Room made me realize that she is doing a performance that is kind of mimicking Whoopi Goldberg's portrayal of Guinan, and her voice is a little gruffer and stuff like that. So I really appreciated that. So yeah, what'd you guys think?
I unfortunately don't like this actress portrayal of Guinan. I don't understand. Like, if you want to have Guinan, just have Guinan. Don't have this lovely actress play a younger version of Guinan or get somebody different. So
So if you want, you're saying if you want to have Guinan, get Whoopi Goldberg. You're not saying if you want to have Guinan, get
right.
Guinan, because
No,
Whoopi Goldberg's not Guinan, Marcelo. Just
Oh,
want to let you
well,
know.
I know that. I know that.
I just
I am
wanted to
not.
tease you. I'm sorry. I just wanted to tease you.
I am not. I know you are, but I'm not, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not senile just yet. Although I'm getting close, but I'm not there yet. No, but
I think it's a case of money as well, Marcelo. It's
Yeah.
cheaper to actually employ a new actress than it
Right,
is to spend all that money trying to de-age Whoopi
right.
Goldberg.
But but with that being said, the fantastical nature of this scene, it didn't really bother me. I just really didn't like the overt scream that she made. I was like, she could have found a subtler way to do that. Like if she took like a harp or something and played it, I thought that would have been nice, much nicer than just have her scream her lungs out. I found that to be very, very unnecessary and a little bit over the top. Also, when this gentleman came down, the FBI guy, I thought that he was Q masquerading as somebody else. So when the reveal happened of him being an FBI guy, I was really disappointed.
I'm still hoping he's a temporal agent. I still
Yeah,
hoping.
there's a lot of folks saying though that it's not going to be that, but yeah, I'm kind of hoping. What there? Do you guys mind if I share like a theory that I think is cool about this guy? So do you
Yeah,
guys
go for
remember in
it.
the trailer there's like a Vulcan or a Romulan that does a mind meld with like a little kid?
No, I
So
don't remember.
I think
But
the
yeah,
first
No,
time
I
I
don't
heard this
remember that.
theory is from Paul Sutherland, but this guy is that little kid grown up.
Huh.
So he's obsessed with aliens and stuff like that. And now where they're gonna go with this, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, a lot of people think it's Duquesne because it's the same
Duquesne,
actor
yeah, from
who played
Voyager, yeah.
Duquesne on Star Trek Voyager. So yeah.
And he's
Um,
also from that wonderful series that Terry Matalas was a showrunner on, 12 Monkeys, which is also a great series that you should check out.
yeah, I have to now check it out. I'm a huge fan of Terry Matalas now.
See,
I
I
didn't really
told
watch
you.
12 Monkeys because I love the movie so much. I'm a huge fan of Terry Gilliam. I think I've seen every Terry Gilliam film from Time Bandits. If you want to talk about timey-wimey stuff, Brazil, lots. Just go check out Terry Gilliam. My favorite of his films, by the way, is Baron Munchausen. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that, but what will become of the Baron? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Sorry, I just had to. But anyways,
So,
but now I'm convinced after Star Trek Picard and his showrunner style, like the way he's running the show and everything is pretty cool, and I'm very enticed by what they're gonna do in season 3. So yeah, I'll go check out 12 Monkeys as well.
So I
And,
liked the fact that it just seemed so poetic to have this bottle that would normally contain a liquid, some substance, but it contained a conversation, right? And that she's having a drink of sound to summon the
yeah,
cue. I just thought it was very poetic to mix these senses and sensories with each
yeah.
other. I liked it.
And also it puts a new light on like Guinan, like the way Elorians. Yeah, I like that. The way Elorians like memorialize things or do things is not like written language. It's very like symbolic in a way. Um,
mm,
and maybe that's why they're so tuned into temporal changes and things like that is because their perception, they might look humanoid, but their perception is on a whole different plane or a whole different level. And so that's a neat concept to me is that, and I like that, and I think I have enough um suspension of disbelief for this that where I can like tie it into science if I wanted to. I can really go and stretch it like, recording vibrations. Marcelo, I don't know if you know this, but like people are finding out that like especially clay vessels that you have to like spin to create, to like make. There is a way to extract sound of what was going on at the time of its making, using technology. Amy, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's
that's
cool.
actually something real where you can like extract sound, like so sounds, emotions, feelings, things like that may get imprinted on physical objects in some way, and then we just need the right technology or the right abilities to be able to like perceive or read those things. So yeah, I
That's
love
like
that thought.
that's like that's similar to the piece of equipment that Laris used in season 1 to map map
That's a really
Soji's
cool connection. Yeah.
apartment.
Yeah, that's
but
great.
yeah,
Yeah, she was
so
able to like use, and that was explained really cool too, like with quantum something. Everything's quantum, right? Like let's just throw
right, right.
quantum in there. But, like, nice connection, Marcelo. Very cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that concludes the episode. Do you guys have any theories about next week? Where do you think the show is going? Where do you want it to go?
I think we're gonna see.
I'm-
Oh no, I'm sorry.
No, no, no,
Ian,
no,
go
no, no.
ahead.
You go. No, you go. No, Marcelo, you go first. You go
All
first.
right. I think that we have another prison break in the future. I don't think. I don't think that. I don't think that Picard is going to cooperate with this gentleman. I don't think he's going to give him anything of worth at all. And I'm just biding my time until they break out of the prison or they break out of the. They break out of the station that they're going to.
Right on.
But but with that being said, I don't know what the overall end game of the season is going to be. I'm beginning to think that this storyline isn't going to wrap up at the end of the season. I think it's going to bleed over into season 3, and I think the ultimate conclusion of the entire series is going to require the next gen crew. And when that happens, we're going to start to see the exit of some of our beloved crew members in sort of entertaining fashions here and there.
I like that. Very
So
realistic.
you're hoping for a cliffhanger.
Oh,
You guys
yes.
were getting a lot of praise
Nice.
for this discussion, and then also Amy, everyone wants you back. I hope you'll come back. I hope you like this.
Thank you so much, you guys.
That's cool. Ian, any final thoughts on? Oh, by the way, we do sometimes give ratings. Like I started not giving ratings, and then some audience people were like, "We want your crazy hyperbolic ratings." So I'll just
It's
say
all
that-
right. I've already, when you disappeared, I told Amy what your rating
We know
would
what
be
it is.
anyway.
Come on.
It's going to be 10.
Come
It's
on,
going to
let's
be
say it.
10.
I
Let's hear it.
can't
Come on.
deny it. It's a 10. It's true. Marcelo, what would you rate this episode?
Actually, when I came into this discussion, I had one rating in my head, but after sitting here for an hour or a little bit more than an hour, you guys made me realize things about this episode that I didn't see the first time. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up my rating just by 1 point, because it was initially going to be a 4, but because of this discussion, because of how wonderful it was, I'm going to give this episode a 5. So I'm right in the middle.
Very
Shit, I
nice.
froze. I didn't hear your-
We've done something right. We've done something
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
What was your rating? I missed it.
No, my
5.
my rating.
Oh,
was
5.
a
Okay,
5,
great.
So I'm right in the middle.
Nice.
It was going to be a 4, but you guys brought it up, so it's a 5.
Nice. Ian, what are your final thoughts and rating?
Well, I think there's still. This is going to come back and haunt Picard because he threw it. He threw it in the bar, and if they raided, they're going to go and they're going to do it. And so this is going to come up in a conversation.
I think that's how they're gonna
wouldn't
find
surprise-
him. I think Rafi and
Yeah.
Seven. Rios
Yeah,
is off doing lovey-dovey stuff, so I don't know if he's gonna be involved in the next episode. But I feel like Rafi.
They
and
just
Seven
they
are
just
gonna
seem to be
do it.
throwing and leaving com badges all over the place. Rios left it at the clinic. Picard throws it away in the bar. It's there. So it'll be interesting to see. And you said about quantum leap. There was that. Well, quantum. It was the quantum leap of boundaries, wasn't it? That he said to.
Oh yeah,
Talon.
he does say that.
But
That's right.
the quantum
Talon,
leap.
yeah.
So yeah.
We didn't even talk
Um,
about her reveal as a Romulan, but I just want to say I knew that was coming. Like,
Yeah, we all
personally.
knew that.
Yeah,
We all
that
knew
was
because
good.
obviously when she put the bit on and it was like the
Yeah,
Vulcan
it was like a
type
Romulan
ear.
shit.
and-
Yeah, it's true. It's
Yeah,
true.
Romulan shape. Great. It's as I said, there was a couple of things that hurt me, and they still do to a certain degree. But still, this season's just been a really good season. Full stop. It's been more than I'd expected after season 1, because it's a quantum leap again of just how much better it is. But for me, I'll give it 8.5.
Wow, that's pretty high. By the way, folks were asking where you can find Amy. It's at Miss Amy Nelson on Twitter. And then we'll go over all your cool podcasts again at the end. But Amy, take us out with some final thoughts, like some predictions maybe, and if you feel like giving a rating on a scale of 1 to 10, feel free.
Okay. Well, as I said at the top, I really feel like this episode is introspective and you've got to go there with them. Otherwise, you're just sort of going to miss it. And you're like, what the heck is this episode about? Yeah. So if you can go on the ride with them, I think it was very worthwhile. We learn a lot about the characters, which is awesome. And like the demons, and learning about other people's demons helps you to accept and learn your own. So I love that about Star Trek. I'm so curious because we need to get back to soon, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of stories
and Corey, and like she found out that she's not real. Like,
Right.
oh my gosh,
There's a lot still
Pinocchio.
That's true.
And then that tie-in with what agreement did Data soon? Adam? Is that
Adam
his name?
soon? Yeah, make with Q.
Yeah. What agreement did Adam make with Q? And is that fulfilled because he actually hit Picard and not Renee? So will Corey get this antidote?
Right.
I don't know. So I'm very curious. I want to see how that wraps up. And then, that cliffhanger of Picard Picard learning about Q. And why is Q losing his powers? And we got to figure that out too. So I'm very curious. I like the deep dive, but it didn't really progress the story. So I need to get some story going on.
Yeah, we got 3 episodes left. That's a lot of
episodes left.
As Fathery, our friend Fathery from Tex Trek said, they have a lot of plates right now up in spinning plates. Yeah. So
also, I feel I should mention before we go out, we have 3 episodes left until the pilot episode of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. I need to say that.
Yeah, it's true. That's going to be a
sorry.
doozy.
You have 3 episodes to get Strange New Worlds. We still not getting it in this country yet. We still not getting it.
But I just want to say something, Ian. If you wanted to watch Strange New Worlds, you could. There are ways you could.
I'm not hiring me dumb lads. Yes, I know that.
We can't implicate Ian.
No,
we can't implicate Ian on anything or suggest anything.
No, I want to do it. I want to do it the proper way. I want to do it the proper way.
Ian, you can always travel into the future as well. And we'll help you. We're your motley crew. We got you. We're gonna go. Help you get Strange New Worlds.
I mean, if you're desperate, I got ways. That's all I'll say. I got ways.
Sorry, you all know me. I'm desperate. You all know me.
Paramount Plus, please don't go after my friend Marcelo. Thank you.
That's all right. Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to. I don't condone my own behavior. I just want to say that. I don't condone my own behavior.
Very cool. That's a lot of stuff to look forward to, Amy.
So I think I would give this episode 7 Guinan screams out of 10.
Yes, I love your rating. That was a cool rating. 7 Guinan screams out of 10 is pretty good. I'm not going to scream there. Amy,
I'd just like to add, I'm the same as Marcelo. I did have a lower score, but this discussion, I upped it.
Oh, as well. I always love when that can happen. Man, we brought it today. Thank you. Amy, your debut on the show has been pretty awesome. It's a memorable one for certain. Thank you. It looks like the audience is giving it high ratings too. Cerulean Blue gave it 9.6. Braxton gave it a 9. And let's see if Jill gave it something. I think not. I think that's all the ratings. By the way, shout out to Arthur who's here. We all met Arthur. I'm still it's kind of cool to have met you guys, some of the audience members. You guys are all so awesome, and I miss you. I miss everyone. I miss that. I wish I could have somehow we could be on a ship traveling through the stars together. That's what it felt like. It was very, very cool. Now I'm hooked forever. Now I understand what all the convention stuff. Now I got to go to STLV. I got to do the cruise. I got to figure out a way to make Star Trek my full-time mission.
I think if we could make it a full-time mission to all of us, that's exactly what we would do.
That's what we want.
I'm trying very hard to get there, and I'm getting close.
Which brings us to this portion. So audience, please subscribe to all these lovely folks. Everyone tell everyone where they can find you once again. Let's start with Amy this time.
Okay, well, I'm on Twitter at Miss Amy Nelson. I have a podcast. If you search Galaxy Class, it's about next generation. If you want to hear me talk TNG, and also All Good Things is one that's just general, sort of more classic, but we're just throwing some new stuff in there every once in a while. And then Union Federation podcast where we
Someone's
talk about
gonna
the
start
new
watching
stuff.
the Orville again.
And Orville. So you better watch Orville.
We'll do. When does the new season of Orville start, guys?
June 10th.
June 10th. Yes, you're right.
Okay, cool. I'm sure maybe we'll have some after dark Orville. Oh, look at that! Marcelo got so happy.
No, you're not gonna do that.
Yeah, I will. It won't be on
on
Starfleet Boy Actual, but we could definitely do an after dark thing, or maybe we'll go on one of your. Actually, we'll just go on Amy's podcast if she'll have us.
Yeah, we could do that. That should be fun.
So that might be really nice. Thank you. And Ian, hold on, wait. I think I still have this. Hold on a second. Here we go. If you guys send me stuff like that, I'll play it, by the way. Anyways, go ahead, Ian. Tell everyone how they can find you.
Well, I've had a really good day on my channel because I've now gone from just over 90 yesterday to 111 today.
Yay!
I've jumped up. So I've jumped up and I've just posted... I've re-edited and posted a video from the cruise, from the t-shirt party from the cruise
Awesome.
Today, actually. So, yeah. You've got my channel. I'm on Instagram and Twitter, Dadmore_UK. You can find me there. Because another good bit of news is my old account that was hacked is no more. Instagram
Oh, good.
deleted
So you
it.
don't have to compete with the hackers. That's good.
No, I don't have to compete the hackers, and I don't have the hackers trying to sell Bitcoin with using my face or anything like that now. So it is completely gone. So it's just Dadmore UK on my Instagram now.
Right on. So go check Ian out. Marcel, what's the latest and greatest news from your neck of the universe?
Yeah, I have two podcasts. One of those podcasts is Radio 815. It's a podcast. It's a weekly podcast dedicated to examining the work of writer-director J.J. Abrams. We talk about Fringe. We talk about Felicity. We talk about Alias. But brand new episodes of that podcast are released every Friday. I also have my personal podcast, the Red Wall Podcast, that is in season right now, where I have interesting and introspective conversations with my friends about Star Trek science fiction and all sorts of lovey-dovey stuff. If you want to check that out, I also have a YouTube channel called Balloonhead Productions, where I do reviews about Star Trek, Doctor Who, Mission Impossible, Smallville, and all sorts of good stuff. And I'm also on Twitter at CreekFanatic88. If you go on my Twitter, I have links to everything that I do. So that's the best place to find out everything that I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm sorry if folks don't want to join Twitter, but it can be fun if you cultivate and regulate your experiences on there.
Yeah.
So.
If you if you rig it like I have, like my Twitter is like Star Trek Central. It's like full of Star Trek people, and it's a very positive experience because I've rigged it that way.
I agree. Me too.
Cheers to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, check it out. And if you guys need any advice, we got tons of advice to give. So yeah, thank you.
We'll quite happily impart to people as well.
Yes, exactly. Hey, you got to find it's good to be worldly and to know things and also to share opinions, but some people are just disrespectful and we don't tolerate that. So
Absolutely. Yeah,
actually, someone else pointed out in the audience, it's great to have Marcelo's input. We gain strength as a fandom by having respectful and intelligent discussions with those who don't have the same feelings. So yeah, thank you, Marcelo, for bringing a different perspective and not.
It would be very boring if we all had the same opinion.
Same opinion, yeah, and also for not giving into my intense peer pressure about Picard because I have.
I'm not the only one that doesn't give into you. There's somebody else that we know.
Oh, he's a childhood friend. Yes, my friend
that doesn't
Ruben.
give into you. So.
Yes, it's true. Although he does get really stressed out when I go head to head with him. We've seen that in the after chats, but we won't go over there. Don't worry.
Ruben has a really nice picture of Starfleet Boy. That's all I'll say. Last night.
Go check it out. Yeah. So this week on Thursday, we start up again with the latest and greatest Picard dropping, and we'll do what's called, if you are on Twitter, we do what's called Twitter Spaces. And so we have a Picard Space Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. If you'll come and join us there, we talk about it. And it's a little different from this. What's cool about Spaces is that if you like, anyone from the audience can request to speak, and we bring you up on like this virtual stage, so to speak, and you can just kind of share your thoughts and opinions. So that one's like a really casual and informal discussion, and we had a really fun time. A lot of cool folks popped into the space for this last discussion that we did on Thursday. Friday nights is what we as a collective call TQIF. Thank you, it's Friday, and anyone's welcome to join. So if you guys want to create content for Friday's TQIF, let us know and we'll promote it as such. Who's here in this channel, but Marcelo is doing TOS reviews. He's a little bit behind, but he's catching up.
Yes,
quickly,
I'm one episode behind. I just want to mention that the episode that I'm behind on, that episode will come out sometime tomorrow, and Friday I'll review the episode after that. So I'll be all caught up. But I apologize for that, guys, because this week was just a little bit too nuts for me.
Life happens, Marcelo. We're here for your content, though. So you can check that out. And then Text Track does at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, a deep dive discussion of the latest and greatest episode of Star Trek. Right now, they're focused on Picard as well. So go check that out. I got to be on the discussion this week, so that's cool if you want to go hear me talk more about Picard. Actually, you can see the different stages of my opinion on the space. Like, you can see how I felt when I first saw it, you can see how I felt on Text Trek, and then you can see how I feel on this. So if that kind of stuff is something you're interested in, go check out all those discussions at once. But otherwise, we love having you guys here on our Sunday discussion. Saturdays we do a TOS discussion. I know it's not everyone's bag, but it is it's still, I think, a fun discussion. We try to be honest and reflect on TOS with a modern lens, as well as taking into account what was going on when it aired, and I think we do a pretty good job.
You do.
It may not be Amy's bag, but she's in the audience.
That wasn't a jab at Amy. That wasn't directed specifically at Amy.
I mean, I was on those discussions for a while, but then I gave up.
Yeah, you didn't like TOS.
Because I'm like Amy. I love Star Trek because my favorite Star Trek is TNG. So, I'm beginning to get respect for TOS since I'm reviewing it every week, but it's still not, my favorite. So
that's cool. It's definitely some folks' favorite. It's not my favorite, but it was my favorite before my new favorite showed up, which was TNG as well. So, so I have an endless love for TOS, and I do think there is an unintentional arc that happens with those guys, and it's just like a really cool thing. And I'm loving seeing all these connections, and as the Star Trek franchise grows and more Star Treks keep getting introduced, they all seem to reference TOS in one way or another, which helps to actually enhance TOS in a way, explaining some things and so on and so forth, or adding layers to it. So I do love revisiting that show for that reason. So
well, if it wasn't for TOS, there wouldn't be Star Trek full stop, and we wouldn't be here discussing it.
Predestination Paradise.
Yeah, I get that, Amy. Yeah.
Hey, wasn't there that TOS reference when Rios was like, well, I don't live in space, I work in space?
We didn't say it. We didn't talk about it.
Yeah, that's Voyage Home. The Voyage Home is Star Trek 4.
Yeah,
and I also would like to point out that none of the current Star Trek that we have right now would be even here if it wasn't for a little film called Star Trek 2009. I just want to say that.
You're right. Kicked it back. It got us out of the dark ages.
As many people what people forget is, as many people say it's not Star Trek, you forget that brought so much new blood into the Star Trek fandom. So these people that say 2009 you can forget, no. It's it's like Amy's TNG is not, is your Star Trek. People out there, 2009 is their Star Trek, and together it's just one big Trek family, and that's all that matters.
There's so many. What's great about Star Trek is there's so many entry points, and they're all perfectly valid and wonderful.
They're all valid.
Yeah, wonderful ways.
Because the good thing is,
sorry, Ian.
The good thing now, Prodigy is now going to be somebody else's start point, and that is perfect for the kids. Because somebody said to me, he said, "I've got kids. Who do I?" I said, It's coming out, I think, next week. I think next week it's coming out in the UK in Nickelodeon channel. So I said, if I wanted to get to watch Star Trek, watch Prodigy. It's there for the kids. Let the kids watch
everyone.
that one.
It's there for kids of all ages, in my opinion. But anyways, the point of this is that like there's so many ways to do a Star Trek. So just check it.
Absolutely.
Find your way through Star Trek, and don't let others let you feel
It's
bad
like ice cream.
like I do about it. I'm just kidding. I don't do that. I try not
you
to.
suck.
Everyone has to watch Star Trek Picard. Well, thank you. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, audience. As always, thank you so much. Live long and prosper, everyone, and we will